Nietzsche. I'll have to read them. I don't know. I'm not. Heidegger is considered very important also, but I don't know if he's really going to help that much. He mostly he maybe extended the phenomenalism of Husserl, and he wrote on ontology. His book Being on Time has like 8 editions or something, but anyway, Husserl seems to be very important, and maybe even Cohen also. And maybe Wittgenstein, well, you have to see what his objections are. But I think at one point he said that he didn't understand Kant's critique of pure reason, which is not very good, but Kant's critique of pure reason is very complicated anyway. Kant even argued that a new moral world cannot be known by us. So we'll briefly discuss Einstein's sensory perceptual relativity. And so maybe this is like a digression to a bit of modern philosophy. Supercritic of Einstein. He criticized Kant for putting space and time in the lofty heights of the a priori. Einstein said that we must bring them down. Furthermore, according to Einstein, we must use our knowledge of light to define these concepts. For light is the best understood, so it is the best choice thanks to Maxwell and Lorentz. But is this really justified? For physicists give conflicting views of the nature of light. Some physicists say that light is a wave, while others say that it is made up of particles. Indeed, despite Maxwell's wave theory of light, Einstein's particle theory of light was partly why he got his Nobel Prize in physics. Moreover, it is the worst possible choice, not the best, because we used EM waves to see the world, and these waves may not correspond exactly to the light waves in our mind. Interesting to consider exactly the difference between EM waves and light, which are both travel at the speed of light. Obviously, the EM spectrum, visible light is a very small part of the EM spectrum. You also have ultraviolet lights, infrared light, and all that, gamma rays, all that. Okay, and this is from page 16. Moreover, Einstein should have done a critique of his faculty of sensation and the faculty of perception. Since the physicist relies on these in studying the world, let alone a critique of the 3 faculties of understanding, judging, and reasoning as Kant did. Since the physicist uses these faculties and thus must know how they affect the objects they use and their limits, so the general theory of relativity showed that gravity curves light, that is, it distorts it. He contradicts himself, since the conclusion of his theory gives proof that he used corrupt senses to create his theory. But if senses are corrupt, then how could he create the theory in the first place? So his famous predictions, that is, the explanation of the precession of the perihelion Mercury, the extra bending of light, and the relativistic Doppler shift, are just due to the effects due to gravity on EM waves which come to our eyes, and not a description of the way the world is really out there. The microscopic experiment is simple mathematically, but philosophically it raises many difficulties. Einstein said it was an important experiment for his theory of relativity and accepted it as indisputable. One of these is that the experiment uses monochromatic yellow light of sodium. Are we confusing one wavelength with one wave? Even if the wave was one wavelength, did it have many waves of it together? Even if the wave was one wavelength, did it have many waves of it together, so that they may have interfered with each other along the paths of the interferometer when split, deflected by mirrors and rejoined, let alone that we do not know how the microscopic components of the mirror affect the light waves or particles at that level, or whether the light changed back and forth from particles to waves, or whether light is in our mind only and different from EM waves in the world. and how and when and how many times these transitions took place. Also, and why did Michelson get the correct result in the first attempt when he did the experiment incorrectly? Since he didn't take into account the fact that that one light wave still will travel in the diagonal path rather than straight, taking into consideration that the world is in motion. He later corrected for this mathematical error and still got the same result. But perhaps most of all, Einstein's conclusion from the theory of relativity contradicts the main premise of his theory. For Einstein's theory presupposes the exact understanding of the nature of light wave, and this is based on observation of light waves. However, according to Maxwell and Einstein, these waves travel at the speed of light, and the theory created based on them show that we cannot observe objects moving close to the speed of light without major distortion, including the distortion in mass. So the conclusion of special and general relativity invalidates the observation of light in the experiments it presupposes. Also, Maxwell and other physicists proved that all EM waves travel at the speed of light, including visible light, by a mathematical technique which may be questioned. A key question is, can EM waves really travel at many speeds? Did the method of solution of the second order partial differential equation result from Maxwell's equations, Gauss, Ampere, Faraday, Gauss, four equations, presuppose a linear wave equation, or did they just presuppose a linear solution? That is, they assume a solution of the form f of x plus vt plus g of x minus vt with f and g arbitrary functions. These are waves moving with constant speed along the x-axis. But should they have assumed a solution of the form f of x plus vt plus 1/2 at squared plus g of x minus vt minus 1/2 at squared? Since then the distance along the x-axis permits the wave to accelerate. The method of solution uses to guess a solution and substitute into the partial differential equation. They use the method of separation of variables of Joseph Fourier to reduce it to an ordinary differential equation, that is, by isolating the variables. If this is so, then not only is the speed of light not constant for all observers, but it is not even constant for the same observer. Yet according to Einstein, his theory would be refuted if the invariance of the speed of light for all observers in constant motion was wrong. I mean, even Einstein was a bit worried that it seems strange that the speed of light is the same for everybody. Yet according to Einstein, his theory would be refuted if the invariance of the speed of light for all observers in constant motion was wrong. It may still be valid, since light waves may be emitted at a constant velocity in our mind and move along with the observer. The visual brain, including the calcarean sulcus of the cortex at the back of our head, where the eyes send the signals from the retina, may only be concerned with the frequency of the wave, resulting in colors that form our visual world, or the speed of EM waves is just too fast for our mind to distinguish minus variations for it. I mean, the speed of light may be too fast for our eyes, may not be sensitive enough. New possible future applications. Some new applications for perceptual relativity theory raise interest in a great theory. We are approaching the space age, and in the high speed needed for space travel, the relativistic effects must be taken into account. Also, limiting the speed of travel to the Einstein speed is unnecessary and must be overcome anyway to travel in our galaxy alone, let alone the universe or multiverse even. While some people even believe in black holes and wormholes or whatever, that you can take shortcuts or curved space-time. Super revolution, the meaning of relativity. Well, ironically, Einstein's book is called The Meaning of Relativity, but he just describes it. It doesn't give you the meaning of relativity. In fact, he's very concise. He could have made it much easier for the reader. The meaning of relativity. super revolution. The meaning of relativity. We use light signals to see physical objects. So clearly if the object is moving in the x direction and a light wave is moving towards it from behind, then clearly if the object is moving faster than the speed of light, then it just means that we won't see it. Since the light wave will never bounce off it and come back to our eyes and brain and soul to signal us that the object is there, even in special relativity. Or similarly, if the object is moving away from us faster than the speed of light and gives off light towards us, then the net result is that the light given off by it will move away from us, not towards us, though at a reduced speed. Hence, it will never be perceived. So this is a critique of Max Born, who accepted the speed limit of Einstein for special relativity. But Born said it is possible to go faster in general relativity, since the Earth spins, and if you go faster and you go far enough, then the outermost stars will be moving faster than the speed of light in general relativity, where the two reference frames are equivalent. Do we need for shortcuts in space-time? Are they possible? Question mark. Ironically, there is a Doppler shift since the object is moving away. Like the stars moving away from us, a consequence of his relativity theory is the Doppler shift, and that disproves his light speed limit theory and implies a return to the master Newton for the science of pure physics to study the world, but use Einstein for new psychological physics, for the physicist is a man after all, using his sense of sight, etc., but speed limit must be finite, even if it is not the speed of light. Faster than light speed, we should add the Cherenkov effect, which is a phenomenon which constant speed greater than the speed of light can be achieved for the EM application by a particle traveling through a dielectric. Also, according to Wild, W-Y-L-D, some waves can also travel faster than the speed of light, i.e., when the particle emitting the wave travels at speed greater than speed c, a wake formed behind the particle. Einstein is 100 years ahead of his time, not just in his thinking, but because we have not begun living in the cosmos where his theory will be used in many ways every day of our existence. Indeed, some people believe that we will have human paradise in the cosmos one day also. So consider application of GR for spaceships briefly. Spaceships computers must apply Einstein's relativity theory in weapon system to lock on target automatically. Spaceship sensors must take into account relativity theory, since high speeds affect how objects are perceived, and so they must make a correction before displaying data of sensors on the viewing screen. Navigation in the cosmos will require applying relativity theory because of strong gravitational fields everywhere. Indeed, general relativity may have to be built into navigation and helm computer, since in some cases the motion is way too quick for human beings to control. Defensive shields may need to apply relativity theory to bending of electromagnetic fields to go around spaceship and protect it. Also for design of gravity fields inside of spaceship to allow humans to walk around there. Also, it is possible to use gravitational fields to bend light to design holograms. Maybe also for stealth, to bend cloaking device, to bend stuff around the spaceship, bend light. Computer engineers must consider relativity theory in computer design. Since electrons and possibly photons soon travel close to the speed of light through the computer circuit, can speak of linear computers where electrons go with constant speed SR, and can speak of curvilinear computers where electrons go along curved circuits instead of linear circuits, GR. General relativity theory restructure may be very important if it allows applying gravity force to star system by moving the planets to new positions in order that they become more suitable for human life, e.g. the 9 planets in our solar system. Well, Pluto was taken away, but they add another one mathematically, but they're still searching for it with telescopes. General relativity theory restructure may be very important if it allows applying gravity force to star system by moving the planets to new positions in order that they become more suitable for human life, e.g. the 9 planets in our solar system, or 2,000 planets already discovered outside our solar system, Uh, they might not be class M, but maybe we could put them in the right position. Time travel is not possible, in my opinion, at least not in real sense, because relativity is a theory of perception, not reality. Space-time is not bent in the world, but only in the mind of observers, whether human or machine, if they use a medium moving at a finite speed to see the world. This approach solves paradoxes like why a horse and carriage will fit in the barn at one speed, but not fit in another speed. Thus, length attraction, time dilation, and curvature of space occurs only in people's minds, and depending on their relative motion or acceleration relative to the object observed. It even depends on the speed of light. If we use another communication medium to see the world, perhaps faster than Einstein's speed, then the world will appear different, but still similar in some ways, since speed must be finite anyway. I wonder how much we use light to see the world. I wonder how much different it would be if we used another electromagnetic waves to see the world. But sometimes we use machines to see the world with other EM waves, and then we translate them to visible light. Okay, I don't think I have much room left, but anyway. A perceptual theory of relativity, extending Einstein also in many ways. Supercritique of Einstein, biological relativity, must we add more question mark? Perceptual relativity is really the overall effect of links between the world and your soul, question mark. What are the signals used in each case, question mark? Add. Number one, soul object. The link between the soul or inner sense of a person object and one of your faculties. Number two, mind object. The link between the mind or outer sense of a person object and one of your faculties. Well, inner sense and outer sense, I used it in the Kantian sense from philosophy. This is page 20. Number three, cortex object. The link between the brain cortex of object person, the link between the brain cortex of person object and your senses. Number four, thalamus object. The link of the thalamus of person object and your senses. Number five, the senses object. The link between sense organs of person object and your senses. Number six, skin object. The link between the skin of person object and your senses. Number seven, own senses object. The link between your senses and your thalamus. Number eight, own thalamus object. The link between your thalamus and your brain cortex. Number nine, own cortex object. The link between your brain cortex and your mind, outer sense. Number 10, outer mind object. Own mind object. The link between your mind or outer sense and your soul, inner sense. Okay. Critique of Einstein. Did he conceive the perception of light speed backwards? Question mark. Light speed is not a constant for all observers. Rather, light speed is relative and different speed for different observers, despite the experiment, etc. And there is other ones, I think, were the Fizeau experiment and cosmological and stellar aberrations. Okay. Light speed is not constant for all observers. Rather, light speed is relative and different speeds for different observers, despite the experiment, etc. And there is a speed of light limit, but it is not known. We only know speed limit that we can detect properly, so may have other particles unknown to us that move faster than light, or they are everywhere but distorted in being perceived by us. Okay, a super critique of the theory of relativity. Emotions also affect perception of physical objects, and this is not taken into consideration by Einstein's theory of special relativity. His theory really only applies to vision. What about the other senses which do not use light to sense the world? So we can also create a theory of relativity using Mach speed for the sense of hearing. What about the other faculties? Question mark. Create theories of relativity for emotion, intellect, will, and imagination. Okay, so this bottom of page 20. Super theory, metaphysics for after Einstein. Super problem, super defense of Einstein. He is considered as a physicist in a class by himself or in a class with Newton. So how can one say he was really rather a psychologist only and didn't even know it, question mark? Can you hold his creation of relativity as a physics theory and psychological theory and theological theory, the three fields of metaphysics in Kant's critique of metaphysics? Indeed, even in psychology, one relegated it to sensory perception rather than thinking, which latter is more human than the former. But sensory perception is the basis of human experience and hence reasoning. But, number one, relativity physics. A. Physicists need to understand sensory perception since they interact with the world in doing their research and use sensory perception to do that. So it tells them how their experiences of objects and events will be. This can prevent harm to themselves also or lead to design of better experiments. B. Physicists can know the world itself by understanding the nature and degree of distortion of the world caused by the sensory perception and so be able to correct for it. C. Also understanding how the world is distorted can help properly design computers, television, radios, telephones, internet, and communications, etc. Number two, relativity psychology. Reasoning is the key function of people, and people communicate ideas face-to-face through speech and behavior, but also indirectly through multimedia messages sent in electromagnetic wave. So your thoughts using languages are sent in using EM waves at the speed of light. So relativity theory applies to thoughts and reasoning also. Since EM waves used in communications have premises and arguments and conclusions of reasoning people. But why aren't these distorted by relativity theory, despite the fact that they move near or at the speed of light? They use amplitude modulation or frequency modulation. Well, now there's digital, so I don't know. And should get Doppler shift in signal. Is distortion in a uniform way and so messages is kept intact? So that one only need an adjustment, question mark. Can we use SR or GR to design better communication systems involving EM waves or create a new computer design using EM waves, analog or digital? Also, our thoughts may really be EM waves only traveling at the speed of light in our brain or mind or soul, our feelings also. Number three, relativity theology, super theory, super revolution. They say that God is everywhere. They say God is incorporeal, i.e. not processing matter or some wholly possesses matter of a different kind than ours, not possessing matter, or some wholly possesses matter of a different kind. But Einstein reduces everything to energy distributed in space-time or fields. Also, he created the most famous equation of physics, i.e. equations relating mass into an energy conversion. And seeing God as energy distributed everywhere is perhaps the most enlightened view of God any man has ever had. And giving a mathematical description of it also uses very advanced mathematics indeed, and allowing such a great phenomena or phenomena to be experienced at all when it can be seen in an infinite number of ways is incredible. But Einstein used super equations which can be used as they are by each and every one of us from a unique perspective, i.e. position, space-time, and motion or acceleration. Well, E equals mc squared is the most famous equation that involves science, not just physics. Many people know that equation. Well, they know partly what it means, but that's from special relativity. Few people know the similar equations from general relativity, which is more general, which can include acceleration also. But it's much more complicated mathematically. If God is a supreme being or divine, then Einstein created a divine way of seeing God. Only we add that we have freedom in the world and the fields of energy can think and act, etc., and that the laws of physics evolve. But according to our new theories, we can gave a super formula of how God's mind thoughts can be seen from any perspective, any observer, question mark. Critique of Einstein. General relativity of Einstein is only a special theory since it leaves out emotions, so it is natural to generalize general relativity to create a general perceptual emotional general relativity, or PEGR for short, for perception. Okay, I don't know if this is the end of Notice Day 22. Okay, new super theory. Create emotional general relativity, i.e. PEGR, with respect to the world, include Kant and then generalize emotional general relativity of perception to relativity of ideas. So have intellectual emotional general relativity, i.e. GR, i.e. consider thinking about the objects of the world as thought by different intellectual observers. Apply to objects beyond experience, pneumona. For Kant, the pneumonal ideas refer to will, soul, and God. Use theory for objects given an experience directly and even beyond experience, to objects not given experience directly but only indirectly, and even to objects not given experience at all, either directly or indirectly, but known to exist in all possible worlds, hence they exist in this one. Also apply to the objects that exist only in a world beyond this world or superimposed on this world if it is of a different nature, and to create an IEGR, intellectual emotional general relativity or relativity also. It is necessary to list all invariants. It is possible to refer to the new code given in the Xanadu system, which lists many new axioms and many new methods, for many of them are invariants. So at a glance, add new versions of Einstein's relativity theory besides other theories not mentioned here. Add, number one for sensory perceptual relativity. A, Galilean transformation. I think maybe I added also one like Beaton transformations, because I don't know if Galileo added for constant speed, but not for acceleration. Number B, Lorentz and Einstein special relativity. Number C, Einstein general relativity. Number D, Newton approximation, classical. E, new EGR, effect of emotional sensory perception can cause hallucinations. Number two, for intellectual relativity. F, new ISR, no emotion, no like computer. G, new EIGR, with emotion field. Number one, object is in experience direct. Number two, object is in experience indirect. Number three, object is non-experienced in it at all. New, must consider two cases in reason beyond reason. A, finite, understood. B, finite. B, infinite, not understood. It is necessary to describe the nature of intellectual world first, that is, its axioms and concepts and ideas and methods and theorems and theories that exist in each person's mind, from the most primitive intellectual conception of the world to the most complex conception of the intellectual world. It is also needed to have a standard and new reference, or a super-psychology, new career, metaphysician, i.e. doctor of the soul. Metaphysics is physics, psychology and theology in Kant's system. I don't know, maybe we have to add sociology or biology. Need multidisciplinary training and acknowledging, including needing multidisciplinary training and knowledge, including super psychology, sensory perception theory, thinking theory, deviant thinking theory. For perceptual relativity for GR physics, and one can consider EM waves for vision or sound waves for hearing, etc., fields or forces of senses. So too for intellectual emotional relativity can consider love, attraction, pleasure, emotion or fear emotion or courage emotion or anger emotion, etc. Emotional fields or forces like sensory fields of forces. New die-charge theory. For atoms, planets, etc., we give a redefinition of what a particle is. It has two qualities which we call charge and not one which we call mass. Each object has a net charge with center of charge for positive and charge, and center of charge for negative. And these cause both attraction and repulsion to enter to other objects of similar nature. So one gets equilibrium distance where the forces of attraction equal the force of repulsion. Same for atoms, same for planets, etc. So revise Maxwell's equations since they use single charges, question mark. Theorem. Charge is just dense spinning energy. Theory. So the world consists of only different sized groups of charges. Are these what are known as fermions, which are the most fundamental particles, or do they have smaller particles still? Consider Kant's second antinomy, where at issue is whether the world is divisible to infinity or it stops at some simple elements. Well, simple elements would be outside the world because they would have no extension, so it's not part of the physical world. Antimatter is just the same particles, just as matter, but it's just as opposite charges, question mark. On Star Trek they have warp engines and they have a mixture of matter and antimatter in a ratio of 1:1. So what is antimatter? Antimatter is just the same particles as matter but opposite spin, question mark, opposite charge. Negative energy just means that it is created by negative charges, not positive charges, or whatever the tradition or custom is, and based on spin of particles. So does this imply that energy can spin, question mark, e.g. negative electric field and positive electric field energies? Just like positive charge can spin, negative charge can spin. Critique of Heisenberg. He created matrix mechanics, the first theory of quantum mechanics created. In his Nobel Prize winning principle, he used the wrong proof. He assumed that an object is a wave and a particle, okay, but not at the same time. Bohr did not explain why measuring an entity in different ways gave different results. Nor did Einstein, but Einstein